Hey, listeners. Today we are talking about 7 tips for creating a profitable online store. So I know it can be a scary place being out on the internet, and you want to have your best foot forward. So there are just a few key things that I teach that you really want to make sure that you have done to your website. If you go searching on the internet, you're going to find a billion different opinions on what your site should have on it, right? And that can even be swayed by the product that that person is selling, right? Let's say it's a company that sells, email services and pop-ups. They're going to obviously say you need to have their pop-up. And so depending on whose opinion you're getting, when you search on the internet about what you need to have on your site, it can get extremely muddy and confusing. So I put together just a quick list, and you can check the show notes, and I will put a link to get this little freebie that I've created out there. And so the first thing is you want to have a professional website with awesome branding. And I'm not talking, when I say professional, I mean, it has to look good and have all the pieces and parts, right? And that's pretty easy these days because, places like Shopify, I mean, they really just have everything built in, right? In the old days, you could potentially have come across an e-commerce place and maybe they don't have all the pieces and parts you need, but that's pretty easy these days. Awesome branding, by that I mean a professional looking logo and a custom domain. Now, you would think that custom domain is not that big of a deal. I know sometimes I'll go to a website and I immediately know that they don't know what they're doing because it has the .my Shopify in the domain. You have to have a custom domain. That would be like if Target set something up and like you go to target.myshopify.com if Target was on Shopify, right? So it's just not professional. So you really have to have a custom domain. You can get one, GoDaddy. There's so many places that you can get a custom domain that are reputable these days. And you really, really need to invest in that. It's not super expensive. I'm trying to think. It's like maybe $30 or less if you buy the security option, I think. The other thing is professional looking logo. Now, I know back when I first started my business, my first business, right? There were very few places to actually get a logo. That was back before Fiverr. And it was back when really the only option you had to create a logo was if you learned Photoshop. These days, there are so many options of places to get logos. It is not even funny. So you really have no excuse for not having a professional looking logo. Like everybody and his brother knows how to create them now. And some people are better at it, right? Your logo needs to not, I recommend that you have a translucent background. So let's say your colors are pink and black. Don't do your logo like the words in black and then like a big pink square behind it. It just looks unprofessional. See how you can incorporate the colors in while still having a translucent background, right? And I can give you some examples of that. If you want to go to my Facebook page, Grow Your Boutique, or if you want to find my Facebook group, Start, Grow, and Scale Your Ecom Business, and you want to jump in there and ask for some examples of logos, we can talk some more about logos. But anyway, that's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is sell products that are great quality and priced correctly. So you want to have products that are not cheap quality. And the way to do that is really by doing your research. I mean, that's the only real way to find out, right? And you want to price them correctly because you're in business to make profit, right? If you're not in business to make profit, I don't know what you're in business for, but 99.9% of entrepreneurs are in business to make money, right? Because money is what pays the bills and lets you live your dream life, take the vacation, be home with your kids. So you have to buy at the right price in order to sell at the right price and still make profits. So that's another thing that needs to be taken into consideration. Also, that quality is kind of reflected in your images on your website, right? So think about like really high-end stores, and this may be a bad example, but when you go to look at them, they have great quality images, right? And they just, you can tell that they put thought into their images, right? And then think about like a store, I know you've probably run into one on the internet, everyone has, where they don't really have their act together, and the kinds of images that they have, like they're all different sizes or they're blurry or, you know, things like that. So those are the types of things for number 2 that you need to do properly. These are all going to help you create a profitable online store, right? Because you're going to look professional and people will trust you. Number 3, understand who your customer is and how to reach them. And you really have to know who your customer is in order to be successful. I cringe when I talk to ladies and they say, I want to be a one-stop shop. Or they say, I want to sell men's, women's, and children's clothing, and I just want to have something for everybody. And so I know I want to say, raise your hand. I know this is a podcast, but literally wherever you are, I want you to raise your hand if you've heard someone say that before, because that tells me that they're not going to make it unless they change their view, because you cannot be everything to everybody, right? Unless you have a humongous budget. So think about Target, right? Target can have something for everybody because they're Target. They have millions, maybe billions of dollars worth of inventory on hand, right? When you are a small business, you cannot do that because you can't effectively give enough product to a specific customer to make them a loyal customer. You have to go deep, not wide, in your product selection. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Number 4, customer testimonials on your website, social media, and in emails. That's another thing where if you're going to be profitable, you have to build the like, know, and trust factor, right? People have to feel like you can be trusted. And part of that is customer testimonials. So if you are in business and you're not asking for testimonials in some way, shape, or form, you need to start doing that and literally start posting those, put them on your website. Start one time a week putting a testimonial post on your social media. Send an email, with testimonials in it. And if you're selling products, which a lot of you are,